Tropical Storm Elsa is near Haiti and Jamaica, and it looks impressive tonight. I'm Mike Naso with this special video update, late night, 11 midnight, July 3rd to 4th of July. Watching Elsa. It was a hurricane as it moved through the Windward Islands. It weakened on Saturday into a tropical storm, and it's been buffeting areas of Haiti with gusty winds and heavy rain, and it's looking interesting tonight. Here's the latest on Elsa from the National Hurricane Center in Miami. As of 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Elsa was at 17.9 north, 75.3 west, winds of 65 miles per hour, so it's a moderate to strong tropical storm, and it's moving west-northwest at 17. Now, as you know, this thing was moving almost 30 miles an hour just 12, 18 hours ago. It has slowed down significantly, and that could allow it to get better stacked and more organized as the clouds rise and the hot air rises and it becomes a stronger tropical system, and that's why it might strengthen before it heads towards Cuba. You can see the forecast track does have this system moving right along the north coast of Jamaica, right into Cuba by Monday morning, and then moving out into the Florida Straits and the eastern Gulf of Mexico, very near Key West, and then striking the state of Florida by Tuesday night. Again, there's a lot of factors at work. Will it be stronger? Will it be weaker? Will it move on the right side of this cone and make landfall Monday night in the Cape Sable region? Or will it move on the left side of this cone and come into the Panhandle on Wednesday morning? Because of the slope of the Florida coastline, there's a lot of possibilities. Right now, it is not forecast to be a hurricane at any point, but it could indeed become a hurricane before Cuba or even before Florida. We do have a hurricane watch in effect for that coastline there of Cuba, with the expectation that it could reach hurricane intensity. We also have a tropical storm warning in effect for areas there of Haiti, Jamaica, as well as the Cuban coastline, and a tropical storm watch now in effect for the Cayman Islands of Cayman, Brac, and Little Cayman, as well as the Florida Keys from Craig Key to the Dry Tortugas, with the expectation that Elsa will make her way towards the Florida Keys in the next 48 hours or so. Now here's the latest satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Elsa, and as you can see, number one, it slowed down, obviously. I mean, that thing was racing through the Caribbean Sea. Number two, those cloud tops are bursting. Now, from my experience, 20 years or so tracking hurricanes, I could tell you this. When you see this bursting pattern, what you sometimes see is curtailed development and maybe even slight weakening, followed by strengthening. So sort of think of it as the tropical storm catching its breath. When I see this blob here starting to spin, notice that. Watch that spinning there. Do you see that spinning? It's starting to spin a little bit. That is looking more and more like a CDO, or a central dense overcast, and that would be right over the top of where it looks like the center of Tropical Storm Elsa is. Also, note here the deep convection blowing up over those waters between Jamaica and Cuba. That is an indication of very hot oceanic sea surface temperatures, which will also help aid in development. So unlike 24 hours ago, when Elsa was a hurricane but looking really ragged, remember, when it was down here after leaving the islands, I see it's not a hurricane, and that pressure is in the 1,000 millibar range, 1,000, 1,004, very high. But I'm much more impressed with the look of Elsa tonight. Here's some of the model guidance, and you can see they're in pretty good agreement. The Hurricane Center track is still towards the west side, the southern side of this, because as of right now, to be honest, the system seems to be not relocating necessarily, but definitely tightening up more in the southern and western part there of that blob. And so the model guidance, if you follow it in the Hurricane Center, would take it right into the southern Cuban coastline and then off into the areas of the Gulf of Mexico. But again, some of the computer models, the Canadian wants to take it all the way east of Florida. That's possible, but it would really have to start turning now to have that happen. I think more likely is something more along the southern edge, and so does the National Hurricane Center. Again, they have a landfall on the west coast of Florida up near the Tampa-St. Pete area, but again, it's still far too early to see where exactly it'll hit, and most of the bad weather will likely be on the right side especially if it has to deal with wind shear down the road, which is a possibility. Here's the close-up satellite again, and look at that blob just bubbling there, looking a little menacing. And look at look at that expansion of that blob. Very, very impressive compared to even 3 or 4 hours ago. So again, heavy rainfall for Haiti, the potential for flash flooding. Jamaica, Montego Bay, you guys right there along the coastline, you need to be on the alert just in case this system makes landfall or gets really close and impacts with gusty winds and heavy rainfall. There's the radar out of Cuba. Looks pretty prehistoric compared to American radars. Nevertheless, you can still see what appears to be a building circulation there just south of Haiti, and if it continued to thread the needle and moves over water, we could see strengthening before it gets to Cuba. Here's a better look at it, and you can see right there, I am seeing some signs of organization there, and so if you're in Jamaica, like I said, or if you're up in Cuba, you guys need to be ready for the potential that this becomes a hurricane. Remember, it was already a hurricane once before. The upper level winds much more favorable. The anticyclone is near Jamaica, and the system is very close to that, and that's probably why you're seeing that expansive outflow on the western side, starting to look a little better. If it gets a jet here on the east side of the circulation, it could be in a much more favorable environment for intensification, so long as the center stays over water. That's very important. You can see the water temperatures here, some of the hottest, deepest waters of the Caribbean between Jamaica and Cuba, and if this system dances right between that area, it could have a good 18 to 36 hours, perhaps, of intensification, especially if it continues to move slower than it was. Now, as far as rainfall, we're starting to think that the flood potential here is going to increase in Florida. You guys still have a lot of time to watch it. This is through Monday morning, and if it is lopsided and not as intense as, say, a hurricane or a stronger hurricane, most of the heavy rain will be on the right-hand side. So even if the center makes landfall in the Big Bend, you're going to get drenched all along the Florida peninsula, and so we're going to watch for not only water rises, but heavy rainfall. The key messages with Elsa this evening: number one, widespread heavy rain will move across Haiti and Jamaica tonight into Sunday. You could have scattered flash flooding and mudslides. Heavy rain for the Caymans and Cuba Sunday into Monday. Significant flooding and mudslides possible over Cuba. And as Elsa approaches the Florida Keys and Peninsula early next week, you could have minor river flooding and isolated flash flooding with that. Number two, tropical storm conditions and dangerous storm surge are expected with hurricane conditions possible beginning early Sunday in eastern Cuba, with tropical storm conditions possible in western Cuba by Sunday night and Monday. Again, they do mention hurricane conditions possible because this could become a hurricane again, especially if it starts looking as good as it has been the last 6 hours as of midnight early Sunday morning. Number three, there is an increasing risk of tropical storm conditions, storm surge, rainfall impacts beginning Monday in the Florida Keys and the southern Florida Peninsula. We have that watch in effect for the Keys, and that risk is going to spread northward across the peninsula through Wednesday and reach Georgia and the Carolinas by Thursday. However, there is uncertainty in this forecast, and it's larger than usual because of Elsa's potential interaction with Hispaniola and Cuba. All interests elsewhere in Florida and along the coast need to monitor the progress of Elsa. Again, there's a lot of factors involved here. If this system blows up like this and gets under the anticyclone and dances around Jamaica over hot water, whether or not it hits Cuba, it could be a heck of a lot stronger than if it gets caught up over eastern Cuba in the next 12 hours and just kind of jaunts to the east of Florida like the Canadian model was showing. Nevertheless, you can see this trough draped across the areas there of Florida, some nasty weather there, some wet weather. That broke down the ridge of high pressure, so there's no doubt that this system is going to eventually turn north. The question will be when and where and how strong. So that'll do it right now for Elsa, Tropical Storm Elsa, looking a bit better there, blowing up, getting bigger, 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 bigger there at the end near Jamaica and Haiti. I'm Mike Naso with the latest. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel for continuing updates on Elsa.